Hello everyone, welcome to the last packet tracer activity from CCNP and core course from Cisco. This activity is under number 26.2.5 and it is under title Configure AAA Authentication on Cisco routers. As you already know, AAA is a shorten for Authentication, Authorization and Accounting. Okay, so what we are going to do in this activity, if you remember in the last video, we enabled like SSH login to the routers remotely using SSH, and we configured the V2Y lines, and then we put transport input SSH, and then we typed login local. Now login local, where first we put a username and the password, and then we put them locally on the router itself. This activity we are going to repeat the same process on router 1, and then on router 2 we are going to make the authentication for the username and the password from a server, and using a protocol TACACS+, and the username and the password, as you will see, is going to given like here in the database. In R3 we are going to repeat the same process of R2, but we are going to use another protocol which is Radius, which is in another server. Okay, so here in the scenario, like I already explained this, but what we need to know more, we have user like console password, like Cisco con for console and PA for password 55, and we also enable secret password Cisco enable EN for enable and PA for password and 55. Okay, so let's start with the instructions. In part 1 we need to test connectivity from a ping from PCA to PCB. Okay, let's do this. And then we need to ping from PCA to BCC. As you can see, it's already successfully done. We need ping to BCC, and then we need ping from BCB to BCC. Okay, so it's also reachable. Here, let's check it. This is also reachable. Alright, so now in step 2 we are going to configure a local username and a password. We are going to use admin1 as a username and the password admin1 PA55. So let's do this. Here we need to enable, and then we need enable password, which is given here. Cisco enable ENPA55. Now we need configure terminal, and then we need to give a username and the password to be local. So here we type username admin1 and secret. Here we are going to use admin1 PA55. Okay, this is the step 2. In step 3 we need to configure local AAA authentication for console access on R1. Okay, so AAA new module. Then we need to type again AAA, and then we need to specify the authentication. Authentication login, default, local. Okay, and now we need to put both lines, the console line and the SSH line. So okay, so let's do first the console line 0, and then we have to specify that the login is going to be authentication from default, which we already set it here at the beginning. Okay, now we type end. Now we type exit. As you can see, now we need the username and the password. This is the console. For for the username it was admin1. For password it was admin1 PA55, and then enable, and then Cisco enable password 55. Okay, configure terminal. That's good. Now we need to enable SSH to log in from a remote PC. As we will see, we will enable SSH on this router. Okay, so to do this, we need now, of course, to, as you remember in the previous video, we put first a domain name, and then we put a key, and then we went to line VTY, and then we enabled SSH, and then we also type login local. Okay, so let's do this. Here in this part, which is under part 2, we need to first give a name. In this activity, as in this file, as you will see, that this is ccnisecurity.com is not a correct value. What we need to use, we have to use the CCNP version 8.com. Okay, so IP domain name going to be CCNP underscore v8.com. This one is not correct. Okay, because when I put this one here, as you can see, let's see now here. Now as you can see, it's 15. When I type this one, there is no increment. But when I type, okay, let's delete this one first. Simply just type no at the beginning. Now when I put this one here, which is IP domain name ccnp.com, you can see now it's 19, not 15. So this one is the correct one. Okay, what after that we need to put a key, which is crypto key generate, and then RSA 1024. That's okay. We have done with this as well. And then we need to configure a named list AAA authentication method for the VTY lines on R1. Okay, so we need AAA again. We need authentication to be like login SSH login local. Now we need to go to line VTY 0 to 4. Since it's router, so it's 0 to 4. If it is a switch, so we need to 0 to 15. We need, of course, first to enable the login. Authentication is going to be this one here, SSH login. And then we need to enable protocol to be SSH, or to specify the protocol is going to be SSH. And then we need end. Now let's try to SSH from this machine. And then we need IP address. So we are working here, and we are going to log into this router here from this port, which is the IP address of this port is this one. Okay, let's put a space. And then the password here is going to be, if you remember, admin1 PA55. As you can see, we logged in using SSH. Okay, now in part 3, we are going to configure server-based AAA authentication using the TACACS plus protocol on R2. Okay, so let's move here to part 2. And before everything, before you start the authentication, you have to make sure that the server is reachable. So we are going to ping the server to check or to make sure that the server is reachable. So now here we have a password. Which password we are going to use? Of course, since I type enable here, so I'm going to use the password of enable, which is Cisco enable PA55. Okay, then here I need to ping the server. Let's take the IP address of the server from here, which is this one. As you can see here, the success rate is 80. So if I'm going to repeat, it's going to be 100. Okay, so now the server is reachable. Let's check the server here, what is there. We go here and you can see this is the client, the R2, the IP address of the client, type of a protocol, and the key is here. Here is the like a database, there is the username for the admin, which is admin2, and then we have a password for this router. Okay, so in troubleshooting also you have to make sure that the username and the password are written in a correct format, as I mean the credentials. It might happen that in one of the troubleshooting you are given a password but it's like not the same here, or username is not the same here. So it's worthy to notice this point here at the moment. Okay, so it's okay. So let's now configure the router to use the server, this one. Okay, so configure terminal. So we already checked this one. We are going to use the admin2 and admin2 PA55. Let's check it one more time. Admin2 and admin2 PA55. Okay, let's do this. Now we need to put this together. So here we have username. It's going to be admin2, and secret is going to be admin2 PA55. Okay, so we already done with this. Admin2 PA55. Okay, now we need to specify the server. Remember here we need to verify the server is reachable. We already checked this. Now we need to specify the server. We are going to say that the server is reachable through this IP address, and also the server key is this one. Okay, in step 4 we are going to configure AAA authentication. Okay, so here we already have done with this. So we are going to repeat the process here. AAA, new module. When you see configure AAA login authentication, so AAA new module, and then AAA authentication is going to be login default, and then the group, and now we need to put a protocol which is TACACS plus, and then local. So now the default local is going to be through this protocol. Okay, now what we need again, we need to configure the line console to use this modification. So line console 0. Okay, and then the login authentication is going to be through a default. Okay, we type end here, and then we type exit. Now username is admin2 and the password admin2 PA55. Now we log in. Okay, so enable. What password I need? I need Cisco enable or ENCA55. Now configure terminal again. So we have done with this. Now we are going to enable the SSH to use the same authentication server. Okay. Configure the line console to use. Okay, verify configuration. So SSH is not needed here. No problem. As you can see, verify AA authentication method. It's only line console. Okay, so that's cool. We don't need to enable SSH here. In part 4, we are going to configure the server authentication using radius on R3. Okay, so let's close this. Let's go to R3 and now again enable here Cisco ENCA55. First, we need to check if the server is reachable. Let's take this IP address from here, then ping this one. Okay, it's reachable. As you can see, the success rate is 100. Now let's check here the information. Again, we have here R3 as a client, we have a key here, we have admin3 as a username and the password admin3 PA55. Let's check this one information here, admin3, and this is here as well. Okay, so let's do this. Configure terminal. We have a username, it's going to be admin3. And secret is going to be admin3 PA55. Okay, then what we need to do more, we need to configure the radius server specifics on R3. Okay, so we have to configure the AAA radius server IP address on secret key on R3. Okay, so here we have to repeat the same process with here. We are going to use the same commands, these two, but we are going to use the server radius. Okay, so we are here current on part 3. So here we need to put like radius server is going to be rad server, and then we need to put the IP address of the server, address IP version 4 is going to be this one, and the key we can take it from here. Okay, so let's write it down. I couldn't. RAD and then IUS PA55. So let's check the completion. RA DUSP A55. It seems correct. Okay, let's check. Let's continue. If it's not correct, we can return back here to fix it. Okay, so this is about part 3. In part 4, we are going to configure AAA authentication again. So a new module. We need to exit this mode here and then a new module. Then we are going to use the authentication to be login as default, but here we need to specify group and then radius local. Okay, now we need to go to line console 0 and then we specify here the login is going to be authentication through default. Okay, so you can see here we have completion 100, so the key was correct. Now we need to exit and then we need to end and then exit one more time, and then the username is going to be admin3 and the password admin3 PA55. Okay, we managed to log in here. Alright, so Verify the AA authentication. We already have done with this here. Check results. Your completion percentage should be 100. It is 100 here. Click check result to see feedback and verification of which required components have been completed. Okay, we can also do this. It's not too much work. As you can see, everything is correct here. All right. So this is the end of this activity. This is the last activity in this course. One more time, I also recommend you to do the activities by your hand. And if you have any question or questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or bring your questions to the lab in the course or during the semester. Okay, thank you one more time and see you in another course. Goodbye.